Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. My name is Jake, and I had the sound on the stream I was monitoring. Hence, I was very confused for a moment. How are you doing? We got a fine show today, and I'll let you know right up. We're gonna jump into the letter hack after this, but I see a good friend of mine, Sandy from Environmental Coffee House, is in the chat. Hello, my friend. Oh my God, I just got paid, literally, and I just got paid one of the finest compliments I've ever received from BC Clarity, Carlton Martin, helping one of Michigan's utmost leftists. I want you to understand, with a very kind $5, I appreciate that. I want to be clear about something. One of Michigan's utmost leftists is going to be plastered all over my channel now. That made my day. Thank you very much, and thank you for the $5. Good Lord. Oh my gosh, Pinkerbell, member for 7 months. Thank you. That's the best tie ever. I love this tie, and it works so well with a gray jacket. So I look forward to every time I have a gray jacket clean enough to wear that I can pop the tie on, because it's a good one. Thank you. We are all on tonight. All right, Sandy, I went on to your channel earlier, and I did not see when you are on. You are on at 9 p.m. Oofa doofa. Well, now we have a dilemma. All right, gang. I'll tell you what. We're going to get dirty here. I'm going to leave it up to fate. Heads, we go to Sandy's channel, because she's the smartest of us. Tails, we go to the letter hack after this. Well, it was tails. But I didn't catch it, so it doesn't really count. Tails, folks. All right, Sandy, I'm gonna jump into your channel with the next opportunity that I have. I will do a stream before your next live show, and I'll be your warm-up act. I'm gonna do that for Matt tonight. He's got a interview lined up, and I kind of owe him because he has supplied the content for our first story. Let's dive into it, folks. Also, I'm a slave to the coin. So many ways. You got Cop City money. That's what we should be telling anybody who's building a Cop City in your neck of the woods. If you have leaders who are dumb enough to approve a facility designed for bullying you, even though they're supposed to be your voice in government, and they somehow manage to find millions of dollars. They can't find $3 million to build a new bridge, but they can find $55 million to train thugs from out of town on how to beat your ass as efficiently as possible. How to make fights so wildly unfair. We're not... Look, I got to issue a correction. Oklahoma actually has dueling rules. I can't believe it. But we're not talking Oklahoman dueling rules, which, by the way, I think is rad. And I'm going to push for in Michigan, because there's a lot of right-wingers that I feel would change their tunes if such a thing were put on the table. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Cop City training. We're talking about how to round up protesters and get as many of them as possible in jail. We're talking about how to be fascists. How do you take a regular police force, like the Bobbies in Britain, and turn them into a paramilitary organization, turn them into a strong arm for whatever fascist is in power. Well, you train them at a cop city. Now, you might be thinking, a cop city? I was only aware of the one in Atlanta. Nope. Letterhack interviewed a guest recently who brought to our attention this tragedy. This is where there are such training facilities being built or already built. An interactive map, by the way. Link is in the description. We're surrounded. Note, they're not building them in the middle of Wyoming. They're not building them where there are no cities to storm. Got one near Denver. They're in states where there's lefties to bully, in a concentrated area. Tells you a lot about what their plans are for these. What can you do? Thank the good Lord, I don't have to do all the work on this. Matt from the what's that one channel? The Letterhack. He already did it. Let's have a gander.
Wrote up my notes the first time for the National Lawyers Guild presentation. And the person who was putting together the webinar was like, here, I'm going to send you the notes. And he wrote back and he said to me, what do you think about adding some next steps? What should people do? And I was like, you know what? That's actually a really good suggestion. Let me go ahead and add those notes. And what I really want to encourage people to do is to not get discouraged, right? It is
real quick, the volume is what the volume is. Usually if people are out there doing fighting the good fight, they don't have podcaster microphones, and we just got to deal with that. But let's listen to the message nonetheless. I'll try to boost the volume if I can.
It's very easy to be like there's nothing we can do. This is just going to be a disaster, and we'll just ride it out and hope we all survive. And you can certainly take that stance, right? I, however, think that all of these places present a window of opportunity for that community, right? You can, even if a place has been built and it's open, right? You can go through the exact process because it's all public, right? Once it's open, it's all public. These are all things that the city has gotten together with whoever they got together with, and they decided they were going to, ask for a bond for this much money. They were going to spend this much. They were going to put out the bids. You can watch the entire process play out from start to finish. And you now have proof that your city council is willing to spend this much money to give police somewhere to play. Right? So now you can take that exact process and bring it to your city council and say, well, you've spent this for the cops to play. How about we spend all of this to give the kids a place to play?
They call us extremists because we want universal health care.
Right.
But look at the billions and billions of dollars that are going to be spent on this.
Right.
That's a good point.
And there is nothing, ground's broken. There are plenty of places that started out with one plan and ended up with a different plan.
I think look at all of the abandoned strip malls in this country.
Right.
I mean, why couldn't these so-called training facilities just end up empty?
Right. Or, I don't know, use them for a school.
Yeah, or a museum or something. Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly.
There are other things that you can do no matter where the process is. And what I'd like people to kind of take from it is an opportunity to fight for something that your community actually needs. Because the reality is whatever they spent or used to provide this thing that they're either in the process of doing or planning to do or whatever have you. There's definitely something that your community needs that's more important.
Such a fantastic point. What have I done? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, such a fantastic point. Wholeheartedly agreed. No matter what their excuse is, and it is just going to be an excuse. No matter what their excuse is for building this thing, there's other things that ought to be built first. There's more pressing issues. At the end of the day, ask the people. Look on this map. And ask the people who approved such a thing in your neck of the woods. And I'm looking on there. They're near you. Ask them, if you've got Cop City money, why not spend an equal amount on something that actually helps us? Instead of spending $55 million, $60 million, $70 million on a facility to brutalize your constituents, how about you spend that amount of money on something that will help us? Not just the money, but the land. You found money and land to train a hit squad. Give us an equal amount of money and land to house the poor. Build houses, make them free. You're homeless no longer. Now you can live there. That's of use to people. That will actually stop crime because we've criminalized being poor. So good. That'll solve a whole lot of crime right there. No one's skull need be caved in. By the way, she said it's a place for cops to play. Let's look at 102 acres approved under my nose on my watch last year in the state of Michigan. Click on that. Oh, brutal. Well, here's the spreadsheet, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to click on that in a separate tab. Give me a moment. This is the lab training center.com. What that links to. This is the facility being built in Jefferson Township. Why, it includes the labyrinth, a whole lot of space for parking, a sniper tower, 635 yards. You know, so this person's property in the top left. It can go just over that wall and blow the brains out of their child. Can you imagine living in this road? You live in that house in the top left. This place gets built, and all day you hear the sounds of thugs breaking down doors, shooting off guns, and generally just playing soldier. Having a ball. For that to exist, you are taxed extra. And now you know that if you ever speak out against your government, those people at that giant, vicious playground are going to swarm you. Do you really want that in your neck of the woods? I would hope not. If not, write the people in charge of this. Tell them you got Cop City money. Now I expect you to invest an equal amount of land and money to build housing for the poor. Or whatever strikes your fancy, anything other than a cop city. Ask them with the expectation. Ask your city council what project they plan to invest as much money and land into to actually make people's lives better. And when they admit they weren't planning on working for the people, have a suggestion ready. I say housing for the poor. You say whatever you want. Just make sure that this crap doesn't go unanswered. At the very least, we can make it expensive for them. Guilt trip the bastards. Let's see what the Wicked community has to say. Jules T, warrior cop wannabe. Yeah, those things should be counterintuitive. I would like to see people who want to be cops and don't have fantasies about violence. I want to see like the chillest lads and lasses you can imagine wanting to become cops. I want people who actually want to protect people. Crazy as that sounds. I want somebody who, when they play D&D, does a shield-based build. You know? A cleric, maybe. I don't want a bunch of savages screaming protect and serve as they gun down unarmed folks who dared ask that people's lives be made better by the government. Pitchfork's Dragon. Building housing for the poor has the bonus effect of raising property value for the not-so-poor. Homeless camps lower property value. Absolutely. Bob Carmody. A new sports ball stadium. You know what? I'm not normally a fan of funding stadiums for sports teams unless the government actually gets to draw money from the ticket sales. In which case, I'm back, baby. But I will vastly prefer. I would prefer a new sports ball stadium that we then give to a billionaire. Just give it to him over a cop city. I'm with you 100%. Get that sports ball stadium built. Good to see you, Bob, by the way. Wireless mic. $415 million here in Nashville. What the... They haven't said anything about this in the news here. News Channel 5. You've showed me these folks. They do great investigations. Let's contact News Channel 5. In fact, News Channel 5 contact. Tips. Mike, you got a special one. All of us, gang, let's add this in. Hold on. I'm going to take the time to add to the description. Contact news. All right, $450 Cop City being constructed in Nashville. Contact News Channel 5 and ask them to cover it. And it's just that easy. Now the link is in the description. Gang, I'm not going to, sugarcoat it here. Your old pal Jake has more raw talent, just dripping with charisma, than the entirety of the News Channel 5 staff. But for some crazy reason, somehow, they have a significantly larger reach than I. Also, they have real reporters there. So, as in, like, people who are employed by somebody specifically to report. So, what might be of use to these people who have their gas paid for by a multi-million, if not billion-dollar company is to contact News Channel 5 and ask them to do a story on it. You might want to add in when you contact them. They have $415 million to spend on teaching these cops to shoot us. What did they say they don't have money for? Look at all the proposals that were turned down with lack of funding listed as the reason, it being too expensive. You had $415 million to stove our head in with a billy club. You can't put a roof over somebody's head? It'll cost you a couple of grand. No. Sleep outside in the wintertime. Because we don't have money to rent you a hotel room. Get an infection because your finger died from frostbite. And now you've got a lump of dead, useless flesh on the end of your hand. Because we don't have money to give you a hotel room. Oh, you want to protest? Well, we had $415 million just laying around to give the most backwoods son of a bitch you've ever met special training in how to corral you and your friends and throw you in a cell. That we had money for. Maybe show them this clip. You want to stress to News Channel 5 what the problem is here and what they ought to address in their reporting. Just some thoughts. Oh, gang. Well, Aaron W., welcome to the Friends of Doris. It's an honor to have you. I'm delighted, and I rely on memberships to keep this thing going. So thank you. Anticorporatus, good to see you. What happened to your stream earlier? I got kicked out, and then I couldn't find it again. Actually, I just got done driving and streaming, says the Anticorporatus. Well, all right, brother man. I guess it did indeed come back. Jules T, an after-school recreation place. That's a fine alternative, for sure. Let me scroll down a little bit here. Oh, yes, that's right. That's right. And now recall what the other, or where I put the other story, so I can load it up. What? All right, gang, let me record this properly. That means with the logo and everything. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. No gentle way to talk about this, but I can at least be quick, because I don't think we have any disagreement on whether or not this is a bad or a good thing. Right now, the Israelis, specifically the Netanyahu government, that's like differentiating between the Palestinians and Hamas, which are their long time ago elected officials. The Israelis are starving the Palestinian people, not Hamas, all Palestinians. They're starving them to death. Children are dying now. In addition from being bombed, they're dying because they are daring to exist. You know, they're doing the age-old offense, the thing that angers Netanyahu so much. They are existing, and that's killing them. Because they're not being given food. In fact, food is being prevented from going to them. I won't show you the video. I watched it. I confirmed to the best of my ability that it was the correct video. Multiple news sources have now confirmed this. Here's what happened. A truck full of flour. Not exactly the tastiest treat in the universe, but it will keep you alive if you're starving to death. Truck full of flour had a bunch of starving people in Palestine run up to it. And it turned out to be a trap because the Israelis opened fire on them and mowed down civilians. Amazing. These, you got to hand it to the IDF. They're great shots because most of the people that got shot, you don't see them crawling for a little bit after. They just fall over like that. And now it's not like there's no fear to be had. I mean, a lot of them realized people were being murdered before they themselves were murdered and got shot. So that their last moments were still drenched in fear as they fled for their lives, running away from the flour truck. Some of the people that had moments of indecision, it's a top-down view that you're seeing this from, you understand. But you could just see them. They're like, do I dart back to the flour truck and try to grab a handful of flour so that my baby doesn't starve to death tonight? Or do I run for my life now? And in that moment where they start to run and they hesitate just a bit, that's when a bullet takes off the top of their head and they fall over dead. And don't worry, the baby's only going to mourn maybe for 8-9 hours before it succumbs to starvation. And it too is dead. And there's a genocide. Family gone, a people gone. Because people are somehow unclear on what's happening in Israel. We're not. I'm not sure what to do in the very long term. I would like Joe Biden to face, and I mean this with sincerity, criminal charges. I would like every Democrat and every Republican who voted, who was behind the U.S. vetoing UN resolutions to stop the violence. I would like them to be tried as war criminals. I believe they are complicit in war crimes. As in, what Israel is doing is a genocide. We have had ample evidence of that. It is only politics. And frankly, dirty, deceptive politics that leads people to believe otherwise. This is coming from somebody who bent over backwards to try to work with the Democrats in the beginning of this, in the interest, assuming that they were still human beings. In the beginning of this, to try to minimize the deaths. Here's what I recommend you do. Again, I don't have a long-term plan. This is a short-term plan, but in my opinion, it's a good short-term plan. Vote uncommitted. Even if I want Joe Biden to go to prison for what he has already done, it doesn't mean I want him to be as bad or worse going forward. I want him to do a better job as the president for as long as he is president. I sincerely hope he's got 4 more years after this, because the alternative is a worse criminal who's admitted they will do the same crimes that are currently happening, plus a whole lot more. Not a great decision. I'm just trying to be frank with you about it. However, you're not going to be doing Joe Biden any favors by enabling terrible behavior, by making it seem like he's safe to help commit this genocide because he's got your support. Vote uncommitted. This is from Mother Jones, Julianne McShane. Washington State's biggest private sector union backs uncommitted Democratic vote. The 50,000-strong chapter said it's worried about Biden's ability to beat Trump and demanded a ceasefire in Gaza. That about sums it up, doesn't it? Washington State's largest private sector labor union has followed Michigan voters' lead, urging its 50,000 members to vote uncommitted rather than for Joe Biden in the state's March 12 primary. The news, first reported by NBC Today, comes as Biden faces growing protests from voters on the left about his support for Israel in its war in Gaza, and concerns about his ability to defeat Trump, the GOP's all but certain nominee, in November. The executive board for the Washington chapter of the United Food and Commercial Workers, which represents more than 50,000 of the union's more than 1 million workers, including some in parts of Oregon and Idaho, unanimously voted for the endorsement Wednesday night. Let me read that again. Unanimously. The executive board for the Washington chapter of the United Food and Commercial Workers unanimously voted for the endorsement Wednesday night, just one day after more than 100,000 voters in Michigan, or 13% overall, not bad, Michigan, well done, opted to vote uncommitted as a protest vote, as my colleague Noah Lannard reported. Enough uncommitted votes can mean some delegates at the party's national convention are uncommitted and can vote for the nominee of their choosing. Isn't that interesting? Here's why I like the uncommitted vote. First and foremost, I don't care if your state doesn't have an uncommitted option appearing on the ballot. Write in the word uncommitted. Just write it in. If there is no write-in option on your ballot, vote for everybody except a presidential nominee. Or if you so choose, vote for Marianne. She's still appearing on these ballots. Yeah, why not? My only point is that we're making Joe Biden into a better politician by sending this message. If he leaves this primary thinking that Democrats as a whole are satisfied with the job he has done, he will lose in November because he will not change his behavior. If, however, we have a clear message sent, there's a chance. If you vote for Marianne Williamson, I'm not sure what you're saying. That doesn't mean you're not saying something. I'm just being honest about my perspective. I don't know what specifically Joe Biden could have done to make you happy. Because before October 7th, there was not a clear message there. If you vote uncommitted, and this is the benefit to it being a rather last-minute thing, if you vote uncommitted, you are saying this is specifically because of the genocide. Now, there's a hell of a lot that other candidates offer that Joe Biden doesn't. But what uncommitted offers is a clarity of message, using the situation as it is to our advantage. It makes it more likely, not that we have to wait till November for the killing to stop, but that the killing will stop tomorrow. Biden loses enough delegates to uncommitted, or frankly, any delegates to uncommitted, there's a chance the killing stops tomorrow. And after the killing has stopped, after we have found a two-state solution, preferably, but really any long-term solution to the atrocities that continue to happen in the Middle East, in Gaza, After all that, we can deal with Biden's sins up until this point, for which I would like to see, at a minimum, I should say, an international court agree that if he leaves the United States, he's getting arrested. But there are more important things to do first. There are more important issues. Issue number 1, let's feed the babies and not gun down their parents. Let's see what the wicked community has to say. The anti-corporatist. I honestly don't hold out much hope. It seems like the mainstream media and the Dem consultancy's brain rot is making them say things like, well, you know, around 13% of people always vote uncommitted. I think Jon Stewart's solution could work. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not surprised that the mainstream media is going to try to spin things, but I'm also not going to let them dictate everything I do. I think this is I think this is the most coherent strategy I've seen from the far left since the Black Lives Matter marches. Not as big. It is big, but it's not as big. But it is as coherent, and I think that's to be admired. And I want to see how it works. Let me also say this. I don't see how it hurts. And to show my conviction, here's Kodiak flexing. Wireless Mike, I just sent you a link to your Discord. Check it out. I shall. Okay. That's a Beau of the Fifth column. I will check it out, but I'm going to wrap up this stream pretty shortly. I know. I'm strongly considering doing a 2 for Friday because I ended up not doing a 2 for Tuesday. Jules T. This week was just so dark. Aaron Bushnell, next Benedict. Yeah. Child got murdered by other children. You could call it manslaughter, or we could say don't yet know the cause, but let's stick to the facts. Then, child got a severe beating from other children because of the bigotry permitted by adults amongst each other. Because of libs of TikTok and Fox News, frankly, and all the other bigots that are simply allowed to be stochastic terrorists without any consequences. We're working on changing that. If you want to help us with that, we covered that. I would say follow libs of TikTok on social media and report every single post that bears reporting. Make a note of when you report it so that if the report is ignored, the company then endures liability for what they have failed to take care of. Aaron Bushnell talked about him excessively. It's hard to imagine a greater act of heroism than giving your life for a cause. And it makes me deeply sad to think what I think about it. But what I think about it is that almost any other thing he could have done would have been preferable. Because I would rather have him here to vote and to protest again. But that said, I mean, my God, what an act of courage. Wireless Mike. Oh, talking to Pinkerbell. Pinkerbell, the school tried to cover it up, and now the whole world is watching them. Yeah. Pinkerbell, Texas won't grant a divorce to a pregnant woman either. Jesus Christ. Please talk to me in the. Let's talk later in Discord. I would like to go over that. Speaking of, got a Texas story here. Let's look at that. Oh God, I have to set it up too. You see, Sandy, it's not always good when I dump into other folks' streams. From time to time, it's actually quite a detriment. For the other folks, for me, works out great because the world isn't fair to my benefit. Oh, Christ. Oh, ad loading. Okay. I'm going to let that ad do its thing. Well, we wait 10 seconds. 3 seconds. Hey, there we go. Gang, I got one more for you. It's a quick one for our old pal Pink to feel bad about, I guess. When your state lights a flame, when you find yourself dealing with deadly catastrophes that you didn't used to have to deal with, at least nearly as often, remember to thank the Republicans, because Republicans brought this down upon all of us. And the irony being, Republicans are suffering the worst for it. Here's Texas, presently. Uncontained Texas fire scorches 300,000 acres. That's a couple days hence. You see that? Driving through the apocalypse there. It really does make one wonder how much we have to endure before Republicans will begin to treat these things seriously. Republicans basically control everything in Texas at present. Their state's on fire. They saved that seal, don't worry. Texas Governor Greg, this is by Anna Skinner for Newsweek. Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued a disaster declaration for 60 counties on Tuesday, but his response to the raging wildfires burning throughout the state has raised eyebrows. Widespread wildfires consuming thousands of acres began on Monday. Authorities haven't identified the cause, according to the Associated Press. I can tell you the cause. Some minor piece of idiocy that 20 years ago would not have resulted in a massive wildfire, which today did result in a massive wildfire because we have absolutely fucked over the environment. That's the cause. You're welcome. You can tell them to contact me. I'll explain it to them. Countless evacuations are in place, and heartbreaking videos of the fire's impacts spread across social media Wednesday. On Tuesday, Abbott announced the disaster declaration on X, formerly Twitter, issuing a disaster declaration for 60 counties to ensure critical resources are swiftly deployed to communities impacted by wildfires. Texans are urged to limit activities that could create sparks and take precautions to keep their loved ones safe. Abbott posted with a link to the press release announcing the disaster declaration. Several X accounts responded to the announcement, criticizing Abbott. The one I like, "You're not going to ask for federal funds, are you?" one person responded to the disaster declaration post. I could go on. I could talk about how Greg Abbott was just recently battling with the federal government over his right to be a racist see you next Tuesday and to kill more people with razor wire in the Rio Grande. But we already get it. If you're listening to this, you know the Republicans are no good. they got to be replaced. Well, you can't replace Greg Abbott in the upcoming election, but let me tell you, you can replace a whole lot of people who created this problem. It's a Republican problem. It's not a Greg Abbott problem. Well, let me try that again. It's a Greg Abbott problem because it's a Republican problem. None of them should be spared criticism here. Here's a not so useful website. No, this is a very useful website when you're not running it through OBS. Here are the candidates you can pick from. You've got Democrats and Republicans listed. Pink, let me know. For the Senate here, we're looking to replace Ted Nobody Likes Me Cruz. Should not be that difficult. Should I be telling people to support Colin Allred, the former football player? I'm sorry, I can't say his name. Mary Gomez, Mark Gonzalez, Roland Gutierrez, A. Robert Hassan, the Robert Hassan, Steve Keogh. You let me know. I actually kind of liked Allred when I read a bit about him, but I suspect as a former football player, he'll disappoint me. So do tell. But the point being, March 5th, Pink, that's your primary. Give us some progressives. Get a couple of friends. That's all you got to do. Reach out to a couple of friends who you don't think vote. Try to get them, pick a candidate that you think is good. Ask them as a favor to you, if nothing else, to support that person. Just vote for him. Costs them nothing. Let's see. Maybe she's let us know. Tinkerbell. Allred looks promising, actually. Well, excellent. Excellent. Let's read up on it. We have the weekend. You find a couple of friends. We'll make a trip out of it. But tell them, come with me to vote. Get involved. Our state's literally burning because we collectively, we the people, have allowed this stuff to go on. Now we have a chance to change it and get rid of Ted Cruz. Sick of seeing that guy. A progressive is more likely to do it than a centrist. Because progressives are more likely to do everything that is decent and right than any other political party. And I'm not even saying progressives have all the answers. They're just at least attempting to find them. That's why I like progressives. Because they're there for the stated purpose. They are the only political group I'm aware of that is there for the stated purpose. My God, the times we live in. Hey, gang, it's very likely that I will do another show tonight. However, I'll tell you this. There is another show coming up in just a few minutes. After Donald James X plays us out, this stream is going to jump over to the letter hack. I hope to see you there, but regardless, this has been I almost nailed it, huh? This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name is Jake.